Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8-second gaming, and in today's video we're going to be talking about each playstyle for ranked because there's 3 of them and sometimes people don't exactly know which one is best for them. A lot of the times I see people either do whatever they want with no plan in mind, or they try to follow their favorite pro player or streamer, and that might not be what works best for them. So we're going to be going over a little bit on how to play each role, their pros and cons, and talk to you why each of them is viable in their own sense. But while having a plan and playstyle that works for you and your team is very important, there are a lot of other aspects that go into be a good Apex player. And if you're looking to learn all those aspects, there's no better place than the GameLeap website. Over there we have top level coaches creating the best, most highly informative guides possible that are all site exclusive, so you won't find them anywhere else. We have legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, and much more, all targeted at making you the best Apex player you can possibly be. So if you really want to hit a new peak rank, reach Diamond, Masters, or even Predator, click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, or I'll steal all your Tic Tacs. But okay, with that out of the way, let's jump into our first playstyle. And the first one that I want to talk about today is the circle playstyle. Now for this one, the goal of the players that are doing this is to be very focused on getting a great spot in the middle of zone and waiting for endgame. With this playstyle, you are looking to put placement points over kill points because you don't really want to risk fighting in the early game. You basically sit out the first half of the game, wait for everybody to come to you, and pick up your kills towards the end. Now typically on this one, players do land towards the middle of the map to have faster rotations, but you can land edge of map still. And for this one, you're always going to want to lean towards a defensive team comp. You want to have a legend that can lock down buildings, plus a legend with movement to get you to middle zone faster, and also a legend that has a way to scan beacons so you can get that second ring knowledge. But what are the pros of this playstyle? What do people like about it? Well, with this you have to deal with third parties a lot less often. Because you're not really fighting in the early or mid game, you have less chances of people trying to dive in and get their kills as well. You also never have to do that last minute mad dash scramble to find an endgame spot in zone because you're typically one of the first people there, and even if it pulls away from you, you still have very good options to move into it. But that's not all, you also don't have to deal with those annoying gatekeepers from Ring or even have to deal with the Ring at all because you're never going to be even close to it. The Ring did receive some changes at the start of Season 14, it's a lot scarier than it used to be, it's a lot more annoying, and I know that a lot of people don't like dealing with it, so that's why the circle playstyle is very enticing to those players. But those are the pros, so let's talk about the cons. What are the downsides of this one? Well, the very blatant obvious one is you have less chance for kills, and with less chance for kills you have less KP, so you don't have the very big explosive games that a lot of the teams that farm kills are getting. You are also walking a very fine line because you want to establish presence in the building that you're holding to tell other people not to come near you, but you also don't want to be annoying to the point where you get them mad so they just push you anyway. It actually happens a lot more often than you think, where you're just continuously firing shots at a team and they say, screw you guys, you're going to die. But another downside is you are also risking losing a lot more points early in the game because if you die, you weren't really going for kills, so you don't have those early kill points to offset the entry cost early. If you get caught on your rotation and a team happens to kill you, you are going to lose a lot more points. But that is your circle playstyle, so if that doesn't sound like you, maybe you're more of an edge player, so let's talk about edge now. Now this one is a playstyle for more of the aggressive teams. You are not afraid to fight when you play an edge team, in fact you welcome the fights. You want to be picking up as many kills as you possibly can because when you're killing people then you're also getting placement points in the slower run of things, and with this playstyle you're also not concerned on where the ring is going to be going because you don't really care, you're just going to be constantly pushing people, so it doesn't really matter where the game ends. So now jumping into the pros of this playstyle, obviously you have tons of kill potential, you are basically running at every single gunshot that you hear. This playstyle is also technically a lot less boring because there's not really any lull periods in the game because you're always on the hunt. It doesn't matter if it's the early game, mid game, or late game, you're going to be constantly trying to fight someone. And in this season of ranked, kills do not have any diminishing returns. So it does not matter how many kills you get in a game, they're all going to be worth the same amount of points, which is huge for edge style teams because you want to get tons of kills. And you also do not have to learn how rings pull. You're not really concerned about where the game's going to end, so you don't really have to take the time of day to learn how zone logic works. But there are some cons along with this playstyle, don't get me wrong. First up, it's a very risky playstyle. Even with a bunch of kills, if you cannot place high, they will be worthless. You guys gotta remember that the big bump up in kill points being worth more is around 5th place and 3rd place. So if you're not making it to those top placements, then your kills are gonna be worth a lot less than they should be. Say you kill 4 teams, but you're the only team to kill anybody, so you still place 15th and then die. Those kills really are not worth a whole lot. If you do that multiple games over and over, you're actually going to be losing points in the long run. And with all the fighting, you are constantly at risk of 3rd, 4th, 5th parties. You guys got to remember, right now in the current rank split, it is on Kings Canyon. It's a very 3rd party heavy map. Teams love to 3rd party. And if you're the one that's constantly rushing at fights or even starting the fight, you are putting yourself in the firing range. And with this playstyle, you are always going to be having to deal with the most annoying part of this season, and that is the ring. Whether or not it's gatekeepers, the ring itself, or just general other things, you are going to have to be constantly dealing with it because you're typically on the edge of zone. Now, just because it is called an edge style play does not mean you actually have to be on the edge. You can be towards the middle of the circle as well, looking for the people that are trying to play circle. But it's just called edge because typically you do play on the edge of zone. And the last downside for this playstyle is you will often have to do that endgame scramble for a spot or just kind of hope something works out or opens up. If you get a really unlucky zone pull and it pulls very far away from you and you spend a lot of your time running to get to an endgame spot, only to find that they're all taken, you're going to have a very bad time. But that is the lifestyle when you choose to play edge. So now with that out of the way, let's dive into our 3rd playstyle, and that is going to be the hybrid. Now this is for the people that like to go with the flow. This is a playstyle that you do whatever the game gives you. Doesn't matter if you're already in the middle of the ring because then you're just fine to chill and play zone. But if you happen to get a zone that pulls away from you, you're more than happy to take a fight and play edge as well. But just like the other two, there are ups and downs, so let's talk about the pros. Starting off with, this is easy for solo queue players to do because you're always able to do whatever your team wants to do. One of the toughest things about solo queue is making sure everyone's on the same page. But if you're able to do whatever your teammates want to do and just kind of go with the flow, then you're going to be often set a lot more than other teams that try to fight their teammates. On top of that, you are less RNG dependent, because you don't care if you get a good ring pull or wherever the zone decides to go. You don't really care about it. Teams that are playing in the middle of zone do rely on those zone pulls, and even if you are edge and don't care with the zone pulls, you still don't want it pulling all the way across the map because then you have so much distance to cover and you can't really fight. But hybrid does not have to worry about that. And hybrid also doesn't have to focus as much on fitting a team comp into their playstyle. Circle, you're very reliant on having a strong defensive team. Edge team, you're very reliant on having an aggressive team, but hybrid, you can kind of do whatever you want. But trust me, there are some downsides to this, so let's talk about the cons. First up, you have no set plan. Apex is a game that can change on the fly. It's constantly evolving as well. No matter what happens in a game, it'll never be like another game that you played. So when you have no set plan, you are actually putting yourself at a disadvantage because you and your team aren't really on the same page. You also don't get enough practice at one playstyle to master it, so you're always a little bit behind in knowledge. It's kind of like the jack of all trades, master of none type of saying. Because you are capable of playing zone or you are capable of playing edge, but you don't know all the little tips and tricks of one specific playstyle. Because one game you might be playing edge, then the next game you're playing circle, then the next game you're playing circle, but then the next game you're playing edge. So you never really have enough time to master one, and that can be hurtful. But on top of that, going with the flow can be very, very risky, because if you try to swap plans mid-game, that can be confusing and cause issues inside your team. Say you land in your POI, you start looting up, you see that the zone actually kind of pulls towards you, so you're like, oh, okay, let's play zone. But then the next ring pulls massively away from you, so you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're playing edge now. You're constantly flip-flopping, you're constantly changing the plan, and that can cause some issues and divides between teammates. But every playstyle right now is actually extremely viable. In other seasons, we haven't seen every single one be as good as they are right now. So it doesn't matter if you are a zone, an edge, or a hybrid team, you are all perfectly capable of climbing. So that's why I want to throw this question out to you guys, the community. What type of playstyle do you think you'll adopt for your rank grinds? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. And with all this being said, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did and you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming, and I will see you in the next one.